Due to an accident, Yi Yun carried the golden light through and devoured the starry world. Under the transformation of the golden light, he created a natural secret technique that can be regarded as a wonder of the universe. The Eye of Reproduction. Under the illumination of talent and secret techniques, everything can be replicated. Luo Feng, are you a genius in spiritual thinking? Does Hong have a strong field and mindset? Can golden horn beasts be clones? Bolan, are you a genius who emerged from the laws of space for thousands of epochs? Peak treasure robbery armor. The most powerful and precious colorful aurora lake. The divine king's treasure star tower. Bring it all to you. Keywords of the novel. Swallowing the starry sky. Copying the godless pop-up window, swallowing the starry sky. Copying the godly TXT complete collection download, swallowing the starry sky. Copying the godly latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Travel. Swallow the starry sky. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Travel. Swallow the starry sky. Late at night and early in the morning, the moon is dark and the wind is high. In the dark and peaceful boundless field, there was a faint light shining, but upon closer inspection, it was a small thatched hut. A young man with a delicate face was lazily lying on the horizontal board in the shed, holding a thick book in his hand. With a faint light in his hand, he savored it with relish. When he saw the highlights, he was excited and looked around, but no one could share it. Suddenly, he lost interest. I really yearn for the world in the book. Even if it's grand and fleeting, it's 10,000 times better than the repetitive and boring life nowadays. The boy's name is Yi Yun, an orphan in the village. He lost his parents from a young age, and with the help of various households in the village, he grew up unharmed until the age of 18. However, Yi Yun, who had just graduated from high school, just passed the college entrance examination and after careful consideration, did not choose to continue his studies, but instead stayed in the village. The village where Yi Yun is located has a large area of fertile land. It is now summer, and a large number of watermelons are planted in the fields. Yi Yun happened to have nothing to do, so he took on the task of watching melons at night with the introduction of the villagers. From childhood to adulthood, Yi Yun did not have any other hobbies, except for reading online novels. Nowadays, the work of reading melons at night is usually extremely leisurely, which just gives Yi Yun a lot of extra time to read. As an old bookworm with over 10 years of experience, Yi Yun has read not only 1,000 but also 800 novels. Among these novels, there are also novels that he loves very much. Yi Yun picked up the book in his hand again and looked at the 4 big characters swallowing the starry sky on the cover, feeling an infinite surge of emotion in his heart. This book, Swallowing the Starry Sky, satisfies all of Yi Yun's fantasies about the universe and the starry sky, so not only did he read it repeatedly, but he even purchased physical books. It can be said that the content in the book can be said to be recited by Yi Yun backwards. Yi Yun held a book with one hand and looked at the bright moon in the sky, spreading his thoughts. The moon emits light, and on the edge of the bright moon, there are also bright stars that twinkle and twinkle. Strange, how do you feel like the brightness of this star is getting bigger and bigger? When Yi Yun was puzzled, the bright light in the sky became brighter and brighter. Before Yi Yun could react, it turned into a golden light and rushed directly into Yi Yun's eyes. Damn it, was I hit by a meteor? What bad luck! Before falling into a coma, Yi Yun only left such helpless thoughts. Ah Yun, wake up quickly. In a daze, Yi Yun heard a few hurried shouts, but he felt a bit strange in his heart. These shouts seemed to suppress his voice. Yi Yun struggled to open his eyes, and in a daze, he found himself lying on a table. He quickly glanced around and saw neatly arranged tables and chairs in a small classroom, with a pair of looking eyes. In front of him was a middle-aged man with a stern expression staring at him. Such a scene also instantly made Yi Yun understand his situation. Isn't this a classroom in class? And I seem to have fallen asleep in such a serious classroom. And the previous few shouts were from a young boy in the front left, but at this moment, when the teacher's attention shifted, the boy also stopped calling out to Yi Yun. Yi Yun felt that the boy was somewhat familiar, but couldn't remember anything for a moment. At this moment, Yi Yun suddenly felt a large amount of memory information emerging in his mind. In an instant, he couldn't fully accept the fusion. The intense pain hit, and Yi Yun simply didn't resist. As a result, Yi Yun, who had just woken up, fainted and fell directly to the ground. This kind of incident also made the teacher, who was about to explode with anger, momentarily stunned. However, after going through a lot, he shouted at the first time, "Hurry up, go to the medical room. Luo Feng, Wei Wen, you two carry Yi Yun over. Remember to be careful." The teacher's timely and calm arrangement calmed down many of the students who had appeared panicked. The two boys named by the teacher stepped forward and gently lifted Yi Yun, one in front of the other, towards the direction of the medical room. "Teacher, is Jack okay with him?" The boy who reminded Yi Yun before asked anxiously. At this moment, the medical room teacher, who had already roughly checked Yi Yun's condition, smiled and said softly, "Don't worry, classmate. There's nothing wrong, it's just that I was a little excited for a while, so I fainted. Just take a break and it'll be fine. Luo Feng, Yun will be fine. Although he is not as powerful as you, he is also an intermediate student of the martial arts school, and his physical fitness is still excellent. Don't worry so much." Another boy looked at Luo Feng's still anxious expression and spoke out to comfort him. Luo Feng nodded, knowing that worrying was useless. However, Yi Yun and Wei Wen were his best allies in third high school. At this time, Yi Yun had not yet woken up, so Luo Feng naturally couldn't completely rest assured. On the hospital bed in the infirmary, Yi Yun lay quietly, while he was receiving a huge memory from his mind, which came from the original memory of his body now. As memories slowly merged, Yi Yun's own thinking also slowly recovered. Although the memory fusion in his mind was not yet over, it no longer hindered Yi Yun's thinking. Through the fusion of memories, Yi Yun also understood his situation. He was hit by a golden light from beyond and unexpectedly crossed into the world of swallowing the starry sky that he had always longed for. And the body that possessed him through time, like himself, also known as Yi Yun, was Luo Feng's classmate, and their relationship was also very good, but Yi Yun did not have any impression from the original work. Recalling what happened in class before also made Yi Yun understand that Luo Feng and them were still in class, which means that the plot had not yet begun and Luo Feng had not shown his talent. In this way, after more than half an hour, Yi Yun finally fused the last trace of his body's memory and slowly opened his eyes. Luo Feng, who had been paying close attention to Yi Yun's situation, naturally noticed Yi Yun's sobriety at the first time. He stood up and helped Yi Yun up from the bed. He spoke with concern and asked, Yun, is everything okay?" Looking at the slightly frail and immature young man in front of him, Yi Yun couldn't connect him with the future galactic lord of the mighty universe. He smiled slightly and said, "Luo Feng, I'm fine, I'm making you worry." It was already after school in the afternoon, and after thanking the teacher, Yi Yun and Luo Feng, the three of them left the campus. The three of them walked shoulder to shoulder on their way home, chatting about some interesting school stories. As he walked, Luo Feng glanced at Yi Yun and said softly, Yun, I have something to say. Don't be afraid to hear it. In a few months, we will be taking the college entrance examination. You also know how important the college entrance examination is for families like us. As long as you can perform well in this college entrance examination, enter the first military academy, and join the military in the future, you will definitely have great achievements. Yun, your grades are pretty good. If you work hard before the college entrance examination, you will still have the chance to be admitted to the first military academy. At such a critical moment, you must not be so lazy. Yi Yun understood what Luo Feng meant. Luo Feng saw him sleeping in class today and thought that Yi Yun had relaxed a bit before the college entrance examination, so he spoke up to remind him. Yi Yun, Luo Feng, and Wei Wen all live in affordable housing areas with similar family conditions, so their relationship has been very good from childhood to adulthood. Among the three of them, Luo Feng is undoubtedly the most outstanding. Not only is his cultural courses among the top in the school, but his physical fitness has also reached the level of a senior student. It should be noted that in the entire third high school, there are only 3 senior students out of over 5,000 students. Except for Luo Feng, the other 2 are wealthy family members who were only able to reach their current level through upbringing, which further reflects Luo Feng's abnormality. And compared to Luo Feng, he has a big gap, but he is also quite good, and can be considered as the middle ground between Luo Feng and Wei Wen. For Yi Yun before, taking the college entrance examination with peace of mind and striving to get into a military academy was indeed the most correct path. However, Yi Yun also knew that Luo Feng's knowledge was not sufficient and he did not realize that the current situation on Earth destined that becoming a warrior and constantly becoming stronger was the best way to defend himself and his home. Luo Feng had not yet experienced a failure in the college entrance examination, so Yi Yun didn't say much. He grabbed Luo Feng and Wei Wen with both hands and laughed, "Luo Feng, don't worry about me. The college entrance examination is not the only way out, maybe I can become a warrior before it. If that's the case, the college entrance examination won't be as important anymore." Wei Wen rolled his eyes at Yi Yun and grabbed his shoulder with a smile, saying, "Your child's physical fitness has just reached the level of an intermediate student, and his punching power is only a little over 500 kilograms, right? If you want to say that Luo Feng has hope of becoming a warrior before the college entrance examination, just forget about it." Unlike Wei Wen, Luo Feng sensed something unusual from Yi Yun's words. It seemed that Yi Yun was not joking, and Luo Feng always felt that after Yi Yun fainted this time, there seemed to be something different. Of course, Yi Yun is not joking. He has traveled into his dream world of swallowing the starry sky, and naturally does not want to live a mediocre life like this. However, he also understands the difference between ordinary people and geniuses. The Earth has just entered the orbit of evolution, and the genetic level is at the bottom of the entire human race in the universe. Most Earthlings cannot even become warriors in their lifetime. Based on his previous talent, he is only slightly better than ordinary people. Yi Yun and Luo Feng grew up together and exercised almost all the time. However, with the same effort, there is a huge gap between him and Luo Feng. If this continues, even if he can become a martial artist, he will still be in his 20s or 30s. What future is there to talk about? Although Yi Yun understands Luo Feng's abnormality and will soon rise on Earth, as his close ally, he will definitely benefit a lot. However, as a traveler, how can Yi Yun be content with such a situation? And Yi Yun was able to have such confidence and courage, naturally because of the golden light that took him through time. In the medical room, Yi Yun, after perfectly integrating all his memories, also discovered that golden light. In addition to taking him through time, he also created a talent secret that can be called a wonder of the universe for him. The human race itself does not have innate secrets, and the top talents of the human race can only rise through some powerful opportunities, which is incomparable to some naturally powerful races in terms of starting point. But under the influence of this golden light, Yi Yun miraculously possessed his unique talent secret method, which also gave him confidence in his future path. He believed that with such a magical talent secret method, there would definitely be a place for him in the future universe. The new book has been uploaded, and we hope that readers can support us a lot. Thank you very much. Thanks Omega. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. The Eye of Talent and Secret Technique Reproduction. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Talent Secrets. Copy the Eye. Yi Yun's innate secret technique, named Copy Eye, that magical golden light shone into Yi Yun's eyes, causing this innate secret technique to directly affect Yi Yun's eyes. Anything scanned by Yi Yun, except for life forms, can be replicated. For the replication of living organisms, there are certain limitations. At this moment, Yi Yun had just acquired this ability and did not have much understanding of its specific and detailed effects, nor had he used the replication ability of his innate secret techniques. He couldn't resist it for a moment and was eager to try it out. The three of them walked all the way from the school and soon approached the entrance of the community. Yi Yun looked at Luo Feng and asked, "Luo Feng, after dinner tonight, are you still going to the martial arts school?" After thinking for a moment, Luo Feng smiled and replied, "Tonight we have tutoring classes, so we should go to the martial arts school again later." "Ah Yun, you and Ah Wen can go earlier, don't wait for me." Yi Yun nodded. He knew that since Luo Feng became a senior student at the martial arts school, he had found a good tutoring job under the introduction of the school. The salary was 100 yuan per hour, teaching 5 days a week and 1 hour per night. In this way, he could easily earn 2,000 yuan per month. At this stage, they were already quite good. After bidding farewell one by one, the three of them walked towards the tube tower where their homes were located. As a low-cost housing community, the land use efficiency of Nannan community is almost at its limit. Each residential building is like a huge square cement column, and the spacing design between residential buildings does not consider the factor of sunlight exposure. In such a community, each tube-shaped building has a floor height of over 30, and Yi Yun's home is on the 34th floor of one of the 38-story residential buildings. Due to the opinions of the majority of residents, low-cost housing communities like Nannan community do not have elevators installed, which can reduce a lot of rent. However, for the vast majority of people in today's era, even climbing dozens of floors of stairs is still a very easy thing. Yi Yun wants to roast about his own floor, but he has no choice at present, so he has to lift his spirits and start climbing up layer by layer. After starting to climb the stairs, Yi Yun had a different feeling. Although he perfectly integrated his previous memories, he was still in control of his current body for the first time. Therefore, after climbing more than 10 floors, he realized that there was no feeling of breathing, but rather the control of his body's strength gradually became more refined. Quickly, Yi Yun arrived at the 34th floor, took out the key, and entered the unfamiliar yet familiar home. Unlike the Luo Feng family, the house where Yi Yun lives does not require him to pay rent every month. This is the house left by his parents before Yi Yun became sensible. Yi Yun is an orphan. His parents were attacked by a large-scale animal tied on a train to another base city, and both died in that tragic accident. That year, Yi Yun was 8 years old. So, from childhood to adulthood, Yi Yun had a solitary personality and had no friends except for Luo Feng and Wei Wen. After taking a shower, Yi Yun suddenly felt refreshed and sat on the sofa, starting to prepare tonight's dinner. Instant noodles. Is there only one bag left? I forgot about this and I'm going downstairs to buy it now. This is the downside of the current tube-shaped building. The floors are too high and the next trip is too time-consuming. Just as Yi Yun hesitated, he suddenly remembered his innate secret technique. According to the information transmitted by the innate secret method, this copy claims to be able to replicate everything except life forms. It's perfect to give this instant noodles a try. At this moment, Yi Yun was full of enthusiasm. He picked up instant noodles with his left hand, stared at them without blinking, and focused his attention on using the copy eye. Yi Yun held his breath and focused, and after a moment, his eyes suddenly turned golden. A message appeared in Yi Yun's mind copying 0.1%, 0.5%, 0.7%, 0.100%. Copy successful. At the moment when the information prompt in his mind was completed, Yi Yun only felt that a small instant noodle model appeared in his mind. Then he tried to touch the model with his mind. The invisible cosmic energy gathered in his right hand, just like 3D printing. In just a few seconds, a bag of identical instant noodles fell on Yi Yun's right hand. The first time Yi Yun felt the magic of his innate secret technique, he was also very surprised. Although he had used the copy eye this time, Yi Yun couldn't understand the mystery at all and easily and happily used it. What is a talent secret? This is a secret technique that is innate to all living beings, and can be used naturally without any perception or understanding. It can only be called an innate secret technique. Today, Yi Yun is clearly in this situation. Yi Yun rushed into the kitchen, holding 2 bags of instant noodles with no difference in their hands. He took out 2 bowls and soaked them separately. After a few minutes, Yi Yun couldn't wait to taste each one. There really is no difference. There is no apparent difference in appearance between the 2 bags of instant noodles, and now the taste inside has also made Yi Yun understand. For items, the copy eye is a 100% complete replica, without any difference. After eating double the amount of instant noodles with satisfaction, Yi Yun's mood remained extremely excited. The excitement of experimenting with the talent secret method for the first time did not dissipate, and he continued to experiment with many things before finally stopping. At this moment, looking at the time, it was already past 7 p.m. Luo Feng should have finished his tutoring class now, right? Now, it's time to go to the martial arts school too. During the time just now, Yi Yun has been experimenting with his talent secret method to replicate items. However, from the information introduction of talent secret methods, Yi Yun knows that it is definitely not that simple. He dares to claim that everything except life forms can be replicated. This talent secret method must have many magical aspects that he has not discovered. After a brief tidying up, Yi Yun went downstairs and quickly left the community. The Extreme Martial Arts School was founded by the world's strongest man, Hong. With Hong's powerful strength, the Extreme Martial Arts School is now accessible all over the world without any obstacles. There are a total of 12 Extreme Martial Arts Schools in Yangzhou City, and the Extreme Martial Arts Schools where Yi Yun and Luo Feng are located belong to the Ian district of Yangzhou City. Drip. Yi Yun swiped his student ID at the entrance of the martial arts school and entered the courtyard. A Extreme Martial Arts School is like a huge monster lurking there, occupying an area even larger than a high school. The main entrance of the martial arts school is enough for 10 cars to enter in parallel. Inside the martial arts school courtyard, there are 3 huge silver-white buildings, resembling 3 spaceships. These 3 buildings are the Junior College Teaching Building, the Intermediate Student Teaching Building, and the Senior Student Teaching Building. Among them, the first and second floors of the Advanced Teaching Building are both large teaching halls, each of which can accommodate thousands of people. The total number of students in the Extreme Martial Arts School is about 30,000 to 40,000. Only at the age of 16 can one enter a martial arts school and become a student. Those over 30 must leave the martial arts school and are prohibited from occupying resources. It is now around 7 p.m. and it is only slightly dark. Yi Yun walked in all the way and also met many students who came to the martial arts school. Yi Yun walked straight towards the tallest building, which was the Senior Student Teaching Building. All the way to the second floor, there were already many students scattered here on this spacious venue, either alone or in groups, starting their daily exercise. Everyone seemed very engaged. "Ah Yun, you're here." Before Yi Yun could search carefully, he heard a familiar voice from Wei Wen. Watching Wei Wen running over with sweat all over his head, Yi Yun smiled and asked, "Has Luo Feng come?" Wei Wen shook his head and said, "Not yet. Luo Feng's private tutoring will last for over an hour. According to reason, it should be after 7:30 p.m. I came around after 6 p.m., so it can be confirmed that he hasn't come yet." Yi Yun nodded. He knew that the entire Senior Student Teaching Building, the first and second floors, could provide training for these intermediate students, but the third floor and above were not something they could go up to. As a senior student, Luo Feng must exercise on the third floor. "Well, just don't come. When Luo Feng arrives later, I want to find him to teach me the techniques of exerting force." A few days ago, I finally reached the physical fitness of an intermediate student, but I feel that I don't have perfect control over my body's strength and can't fully exert my strength. Wei Wen looked at Yi Yun strangely and said, "Ah Yun, you're a bit strange today. You used to train alone with your head down and didn't communicate much with us. Why did you think you wanted to ask Luo Feng for advice today?" Yi Yun wrapped his arm around Wei Wen's neck and laughed heartily, saying, "On, today I was just saying, let you see which day I can become a martial artist, so what if I don't work harder?" Haha. After chatting with Wei Wen for a while, Yi Yun saw Luo Feng and walked over amidst the respectful gaze of a group of students. "Hello, senior brother Luo Feng." The greetings echoed one after another on the second floor of this teaching building. Luo Feng is a senior student of the Extreme Martial Arts School in Ian District. There are only a few hundred senior students in the entire martial arts school, and the vast majority of them are over 20 years old. With the age of 18, Luo Feng can still become a senior student even in situations of insufficient family conditions, which naturally earns the respect of many people. Luo Feng naturally saw Wei Wen and Yi Yun in the corner of the second floor at a glance, and walked straight to their side. Wei Wen glanced at Yi Yun and smiled at Luo Feng, saying, "Luo Feng, Yun just told me that he wants to ask you for advice on how to exert force." It's been so long, Yun has finally enlightened. "Luo Feng, you need to teach him well." Upon hearing this, Luo Feng was obviously also very surprised. However, when he remembered Yi Yun's words today, he couldn't help feeling very relieved. In his heart, Luo Feng was genuinely happy for Yi Yun's determination to move forward. Yun, what's the problem? Come on, let's go to the sandbag area over there." The three of them arrived at an area on the second floor, where there were many sandbags hanging. However, each sandbag was specially made, with a weight of 300, 500, and 700 kilograms, providing strength training for the students of the Extreme Martial Arts School. Luo Feng's actions will naturally be noticed by others. At this time, with the actions of the three people, many students from the entire second floor also gathered in small groups. They heard that Luo Feng was going to teach the technique of exerting force, so they naturally became very interested. Neither Luo Feng nor Yi Yun paid attention to the onlookers. Luo Feng stood in front of a 700-kilogram sandbag, poised his fist and said to Yi Yun beside him, Yun, although improving physical fitness is important, the technique of exerting force is also important. For example, Yun, you can lift a barbell weighing 550 kilograms, but you can only exert 500 kilograms of force with one punch, which is not fully exerting your own strength. While exercising our bodies, we also need to pay special attention to strength techniques, which can help us more efficiently unleash our true strength. After finishing this sentence, Luo Feng took a slow and deep breath, completely relaxing himself. Suddenly, his gaze froze, and he felt like a lazy lion suddenly rising up. His spine tightened like a bowstring, and his foot exerted force to his waist and hips, passing through his spine. Luo Feng's right fist was like a burst of shells, drawing an arc. With a sound of pang, the right fist hit the center of the sandbag. Under the influence of Luo Feng's punching power, the sandbag quickly circled upwards for half a circle, hitting heavily on the roof of the second floor before falling and being easily stopped by Luo Feng with one hand. Yun, do you understand anything? Yi Yun nodded, a glimmer of gold flashing in his eyes. At this moment, in Yi Yun's mind, the talent's secret method was activated. Luo Feng's spiritual and mental talent has been successfully replicated. Luo Feng, the first spiritual master genius on earth. Bring it to you. I hope brothers can support me a lot. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Luo Feng's talent. Strength skyrocketed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Luo Feng's talent. Strength skyrocketed. Yi Yun, who is familiar with the original work, knows that Luo Feng is the first genius of spiritual and mental power on earth for tens of thousands of years. Before entering planetary level, his brain domain expansion reached 21, even reaching the threshold for selecting elite disciples from Meteorite Inc. Star. You should know that the power of Meteorite Inc. Star may not be as strong in the later stage of devouring the starry sky, but its owner, Hu Yanbo, is after all an immortal powerhouse who barely enfeoffed the Marquis. The Meteorite Inc. Star created by him is naturally an elite in the universe, and Luo Feng is already a genius who can rely on the qualifications of Earthlings to meet the conditions to join Meteorite Inc. Star. And now, Yi Yun, who perfectly replicated Luo Feng's spiritual and mental talent, also possesses such qualifications. With the successful replication of the talent's secret technique, Yi Yun's consciousness could feel that a dark golden ball appeared in his sea of consciousness. This dark golden ball kept spinning, while releasing a faint mist, slowly filling the entire sea of consciousness with this mist. This is just mental and intellectual ability, right? Spiritual minders and martial artists are different. Each of them is a natural existence, unlike martial artists who can be trained after birth. Although they cannot be said to be stronger against enemies of the same level, it is indeed recognized in the universe that spiritual minders are even rarer. Before each spiritual master awakens, their talent is actually predetermined, and the amount of innate spiritual power in the sea of consciousness determines the time for their rapid improvement in the future. On Earth, ordinary spiritual masters, who recognize the spiritual power in the sea, can quickly grow to the level of high-level generals, depleting their potential, and the subsequent growth of spiritual power will become very slow. As the most outstanding spiritual genius in tens of thousands of years, Luo Feng's dark golden mental power sphere in his mind was fully supported to the point where his physical fitness had grown into a high-level god of war, before it turned into fragments. In general, during the stage of rapid growth, mental teachers will have a mental level that is 2 levels stronger than their physical fitness. For example, if their physical fitness is an intermediate warrior, their mental level will reach the level of a junior general. In fact, every spiritual master, without awakening their talent and failing, has already had a fixed spiritual power at that time. However, their physical fitness cannot bear such a huge spiritual power for a while. Only when their physical fitness gradually improves can their spiritual power naturally manifest. When Luo Feng truly awakened his spiritual and mental talent, his physical fitness had already reached the level of a warrior. However, this awakening was not sudden, but rather a few small displays during his growth from childhood to adulthood, which strengthened Luo Feng's physique. Otherwise, with such a strong spiritual and mental ability, Luo Feng would likely not be able to withstand it. At this moment, Yi Yun had just awakened his spiritual power. With the continuous release of mist from the dark golden ball, Yi Yun's body was also rapidly strengthened, and the improvement of his physical fitness also made him have the impulse to vent. At this moment, Yi Yun walked to the front of the sandbag. After explaining and guiding, Luo Feng stepped aside and made room for Yi Yun. Yi Yun's mind flashed through Luo Feng's movements and words, and he also learned from Luo Feng's movements. His waist and abdomen worked together, roaring and punching heavily on the sandbag in front of him. With a dull thud, this 700-kilogram sandbag was also moved by Yi Yun's blow. Although it didn't have the stunning effect of Luo Feng, it was enough for those present to be amazed. Wei Wen couldn't believe his own eyes. He knew Yi Yun's strength, but had just crossed the physical fitness threshold for intermediate students. With a physical fitness of 500 kilograms, he could even fly a 700-kilogram sandbag. Isn't it, Yun? Is Luo Feng's teachings so effective? With just one simple demonstration, how can we achieve such a level? Facing Yi Yun's performance, Luo Feng was also somewhat surprised, but he fully understood the importance of putting in effort. At this moment, he did not doubt anything too much, but sincerely felt happy for Yi Yun. After striking this punch, Yi Yun had a faint realization in his heart. He had just awakened his spiritual and mental abilities and could not fully control it. His goal for today had also been achieved, so he had no intention of staying any longer. He spoke to Luo Feng in Wei Wen a few times before quickly leaving the martial arts school. The miraculous change of Yi Yun was naturally seen by the onlookers. At this moment, their eyes lit up one by one, and they all approached Luo Feng, asking him about his usual exercise savings. In their eyes, Luo Feng was obviously more powerful and magical than ordinary teachers in class. On the way home, Yi Yun felt a faint pain in his mind. The pain gradually intensified. Yi Yun gritted his teeth and climbed upstairs, closing the door. In the moment, he could no longer bear it and collapsed on the sofa. After a night, Yi Yun slowly woke up and opened his eyes. The glaring sunlight made him close his eyes again. After adapting to it for a while, Yi Yun shook his slightly drowsy head and gradually regained consciousness. Recalling last night's experience, Yi Yun understood that although his physical fitness was much stronger than that of Luo Feng when he was a child, he had not reached the level of a formal warrior. At first glance, he awakened his spiritual and mental abilities, and could not fully accept it, leading to a coma, which was also a very normal thing. This kind of coma is actually a protection and improvement for oneself, allowing him to have stronger physical fitness to withstand the awakened spiritual and mental power. After this coma and adaptation, my physical fitness should have reached the level of a warrior, right? Yi Yun can vaguely feel his physical fitness, and in this coma, he has made significant improvements. However, before conducting specific tests, Yi Yun is not sure to what extent he has reached. Glancing at his phone, it was already 10 o'clock in the morning. Today is not Sunday, and Yi Yun, who had slept until now, was obviously late. At this moment, the phone rang and Yi Yun picked it up. It was Luo Feng's phone. I got up. I slept late yesterday. I have nothing to worry about. Don't worry, let me take a leave for me and the teacher. Let's meet tomorrow. After hanging up the phone, Yi Yun came out of his daze and sat on the sofa, pondering the road ahead. Today is December 10th, and there are still 6 months left before the college entrance examination. At that time, it will be when Luo Feng begins to rise. And how should I go on my path? Now that Yi Yun has Luo Feng's talent for spiritual meditation, he naturally doesn't need to worry too much for his next cultivation. With the support of spiritual meditation, his progress before the planetary level was very rapid. Therefore, in Yi Yun's heart, he doesn't even want to participate in this college entrance examination. After thinking for a moment, Yi Yun had already made a decision. Yi Yun has the plan to drop out of school. He is alone and does not need to consider the feelings of others. He plans to test his current strength before attempting to participate in the upcoming physical fitness assessment for quasi-warriors on January 1st. On the first day of each month, the Extreme Martial Arts School will hold a quasi-warrior assessment. There are still 20 days left until January 1st, and Yi Yun has great confidence that he can pass this assessment. There are many opportunities on Earth, and although Yi Yun knows their location and knows their details, his current strength is too poor to access them. Therefore, Yi Yun wants to quickly improve his strength in the shortest possible time. To achieve such a goal, joining the Extreme Martial Arts School is the best way that Yi Yun can think of. As the strongest person on Earth today, Hong has mastered many good things, and the Extreme Martial Arts School has the strongest strength. At this stage, Yi Yun could not have imagined a more suitable choice than the Extreme Martial Arts School. After quickly tidying up and having a simple lunch, Yi Yun returned to the Extreme Martial Arts School in Ian District. Because it was currently noon, there were not many people in the huge Extreme Martial Arts School. Yi Yun walked into the Advanced Student Teaching Building and looked around, making the entire second floor appear incredibly spacious. Test your own strength first. Yi Yun couldn't wait and turned on the switch of the boxing test machine, and the screen also lit up. Slightly adjusting his breathing, Yi Yun immediately felt like a gorilla colliding forward, with a momentum of impact on his right shoulder and arm, and his fist curved along the way. Bang! A deep, drumming sound sounded, and the punch target shook and swayed violently. The display screen of the punch testing machine immediately displayed a row of numbers, 1,580 kilograms, adding so much. After seeing the number of martial arts skills, Yi Yun was also somewhat surprised. Although he knew that after the massive enhancement and transformation of his mental abilities in his mind, his physical fitness would definitely meet the standards of a martial artist, it was still unexpected that he suddenly exceeded the martial artist's bottom line by a large amount of 900 kilograms. According to the current strength of the earth, 900 kilograms of fist power is considered the bottom line for junior warriors, while reaching 2,000 kilograms is considered an intermediate warrior. My fist power has now reached over 1,500 kilograms. In this month, if I work hard to exercise, it should not be difficult to achieve the physical fitness of an intermediate warrior. After understanding his current situation, Yi Yun felt a little excited in his heart. He knew that the strength of a spiritual mind master was generally 2 levels stronger than his physical fitness. When his physical fitness truly reached the level of an intermediate warrior, his spiritual mind ability was considered to have reached the level of a junior warrior. Thinking of this, Yi Yun couldn't help but marvel inwardly. Luo Feng's talent was truly terrifying. He only copied Luo Feng's talent in spiritual cultivation, and there were earth-shattering changes in the past 2 days. This also made Yi Yun's heart more moved. Swallowing the starry sky world undoubtedly values talent immensely. Without talent, no matter how much effort one puts in, they cannot reach a higher realm. Just like a talent without any understanding of major laws, they have no right to progress. The world master is a luxury, let alone the immortal realm after that. Having obtained Luo Feng's talent, the excitement of his sudden surge in strength in Yi Yun's heart gradually faded away when he thought of such a situation. Now is just the beginning, the mysterious and vast devouring of the starry world, Yi Yun, have arrived. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Plan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Plan. What? Yun, are you dropping out of school? Wei Wengang just sprayed out the soda from the inlet and looked at Yi Yun with an incredulous expression on his face. Seeing the same puzzled look in Luo Feng's eyes, Yi Yun chuckled lightly and said, I've made a decision. Now we'll go to school together, and today we'll handle the dropout procedures. As he spoke, Yi Yun held on to Luo Feng and Wei Wen on both sides and walked into the school together. Luo Feng was not as surprised as Wei Wen. He had a strong observation ability. Since Yi Yun's experience in classroom events, Luo Feng keenly felt the changes in Yi Yun. Luo Feng lowered his head and said in a deep voice, Yun, what are your plans after dropping out of the college entrance examination? Yi Yun patted Luo Feng and glanced at the blue sky. Feng, you know my background. My parents died under the beast tide, so I have been determined since I was young to have the ability to protect myself and my loved ones. I am preparing to participate in the physical fitness assessment for quasi-warriors on January 1st, and then join the extreme martial arts school to become a warrior. The light and flowing words fell, and Wei Wen looked at Yi Yun with worry. He placed his right hand on Yi Yun's forehead and then said to Luo Feng beside him, It's over, it's over. Yun is crazy. Feng, did Yun burn his brain last time he was unconscious? Yi Yun angrily patted Wei Wen's hand and continued, Don't make a fuss, I'm not joking or burning my brain. I've already reached the physical fitness standards of a quasi-warrior. Unlike Wei Wen's reaction, Luo Feng did not doubt Yi Yun's words from the moment he spoke, but was extremely surprised in his heart. He knew Yi Yun's strength, and there was still a considerable distance from advanced students. How could he suddenly reach the physical fitness of a quasi-warrior? Seeing Wei Wen's disbelief and Luo Feng's doubts, Yi Yun knew that talking too much was useless and extended his right hand to Luo Feng. Come on, Feng, let's compete for strength. Luo Feng's current punching power is around 800 kilograms, and Yi Yun's move is to convince Luo Feng and the others based on facts. Luo Feng also extended his right hand and held it tightly with Yi Yun. As Wei Wen counted down, the two of them suddenly exerted force at the same time. However, to Luo Feng's great shock, he felt as if his right hand was holding on to crow alloy. No matter how much he increased his strength, Yi Yun's right hand gave him a completely unshakable illusion. Drink. Luo Feng was not the one to give up, so he immediately exerted all his strength. However, even so, he still couldn't pull Yi Yun. Later, Luo Feng felt a huge force coming from his hand, and the next moment he was taken to Yi Yun's side. The two of them let go of their hands, and after such a competition, Luo Feng finally confirmed Yi Yun's strength. Actually, I don't know why it turned out like this. I just came back from the martial arts school the day before yesterday and fell into a coma again. When I woke up the next day, I felt a change in my body. I don't even know the specific reason. As soon as Yi Yun mentioned this, he noticed that Luo Feng's pupils had shrunk. He knew that Luo Feng must have associated himself with him, and the doubts in his heart had certainly been dispelled. Rejecting the teacher's request to stay, Yi Yun quickly completed the procedures for dropping out of school. With no family members, Yi Yun can fully make his own decisions in such matters. Farewell to Luo Feng and Wei Wen, Yi Yun went alone to the extreme martial arts school to exercise. In the following time, before January 1st, Yi Yun had only one goal, which was to achieve physical fitness to the level of an intermediate warrior. As for Luo Feng's development trajectory, Yi Yun had no intention of interfering. Luo Feng's first ideological change was his awakening after failing the college entrance examination, which had a positive effect on his path and promoted his desire for strength. Therefore, Yi Yun would not advise Luo Feng to give up the college entrance examination with him. In the next 20 days, except for occasional gatherings with Wei Wen, Luo Feng, Yi Yun spent most of his time staying in the extreme martial arts school, crazily exercising his body. During this period, he also became a senior student of the martial arts school and received certain attention from the school. And physical fitness has also been steadily improving in this short period of time. On December 30th, Yi Yun privately tested his full strength and finally reached the threshold of 2,000 kilograms. For the three items that quasi-warriors need to assess, in addition to the fist strength test, Yi Yun is also very confident in the other two items. His physical fitness improves synchronously, and his speed is also stable at 40 meters per second or above. As a mental thinker, his neural reaction speed is also his strong point, reaching the level of perfection for intermediate soldiers and excellence for advanced soldiers. According to Yi Yun's plan, when assessing the strength of a quasi-warrior, he is only prepared to show his physical fitness that has just passed the line, which means he suppresses his strength during the assessment. After passing the assessment and obtaining the gene original ability cultivation method, he will show his true strength. This will inevitably be recognized as a demon genius by the martial arts school, and he can also receive higher attention and better cultivation. January 1, 2056. Early in the morning, Yi Yun left the Nan'an community, followed Metro Line 11 to Zhong'an Road Station, then turned to Line 1 and arrived at the central area of Yangzhou City. After leaving the subway station, he walked for another 10 minutes to reach the headquarters of the Extreme Martial Arts Hall in Yangzhou City. The Extreme Guild Hall. It was only after 6 o'clock when I came out of home, and by the time Yi Yun arrived at his destination, it was already almost 8 o'clock in the morning. Such a troublesome journey also made Yi Yun feel emotional and yearning for strength. If he had the ability to earn a star rating or own an intelligent fighter jet now, why would he need such trouble? Is this the Mingyue community? At this moment, Yi Yun was standing outside the entrance of a quiet community called Mingyue Community, and the Extreme Guild Hall was located inside the community. Sir, this is Mingyue Community, please don't get close. I saw a row of 6 soldiers wearing military uniforms with live ammunition standing at the entrance of the community. You can tell from their military uniforms that these people are not from the police system, but from the military system. One of the soldiers shouted at Yi Yun, Sir, please step back. Once you enter the yellow line area, we have the right to directly kill you. For the situation before him, Yi Yun was not surprised at all. He knew that Mingyue community was the headquarters of the extreme martial arts school in Yangzhou City. Not only did it have the Extreme Guild Hall, but it was also the residence of the martial arts families under the Extreme Martial Arts School. So, in order to ensure the safety of the families of warriors living in the Mingyue community, the guard at the entrance has always been very strict. Everyone, Yi Yun said loudly instead of approaching, I am Yi Yun, a senior student of the Extreme Martial Arts School. I am here today to participate in the monthly quasi-martial arts strength assessment. As he spoke, Yi Yun took out his ID card and Extreme Martial Arts School Senior Student ID card and held them in his hand. Oh! An elderly man with gray hair walked out of the guard lounge next to the community, holding a handheld computer in his hand with a hint of surprise on his face. Young man, he came over before 8 o'clock, quite early. The old man said this and took the document handed over by Yi Yun. Do. The ID card and senior student ID card were swiped on the handheld computer respectively, and then several pieces of information emerged. Under 18 years old. Although judging from Yi Yun's appearance, it was certain that he must be very young, the old man was still somewhat surprised when he saw his true age. He immediately smiled and said, at the age of 17, I dare to come for the quasi-martial arts assessment. It's not bad. I hope you can pass today. Then the old man waved at several soldiers and said, let him in. Yi Yun respectfully bowed to the old man and then, led by a soldier holding an assault rifle, walked towards the center of the community. After waiting for Yi Yun to walk away, the old man, who was still standing in place, operated on his handheld computer for a while. However, after a while, a middle-aged man in black appeared on the screen. Uncle Wang, are you suddenly looking for me? Is there anything important? The black-clad man's laughter came out, but there was a hint of doubt in his words. Jiang Yan, have you been managing the branch hall in Ian District for the past few years? Have you been living too comfortably? You haven't paid any attention to your work at all. At this moment it was Jiang Yan, the owner of the Extreme Martial Arts School in Ian District, Yangzhou City, who was on the phone with the old man. He was also the owner of the martial arts school where Yi Yun was located. Jiang Yan was taken aback by Wang Lao's question, obviously not realizing any problem yet. He grinned and said, Uncle Wang, don't play riddles with me here. What exactly happened today? Wang snorted lightly and then said, just now, a young senior student from a martial arts school came to Mingyue community and was about to participate in today's quasi-martial arts assessment. I have verified my identity and it was from your martial arts school. Such an excellent talent has never been mentioned by you. Do you think you have the suspicion of dereliction of duty? Are you participating in the quasi-martial arts assessment today? Is it Yang Wu or Li Shui? No, their information should be well understood by the martial arts school. After all, they have been senior students for several years, isn't it, Luo Feng? Jiang Yan was indeed somewhat surprised. Due to some reasons, he did not participate in today's quasi-warrior assessment, so he did not pay too much attention. For the top students under his command, Jiang Yan also put a lot of effort into it. Before today, he did not receive any news that they would participate in the quasi-warrior assessment in January, so he could only make some guesses. Who is Luo Feng? Wang was surprised not to hear the name he wanted. He seemed to be questioning Jiang Yan before, but actually thought that Jiang Yan had hidden information about Yi Yun and wanted to surprise them. Now, looking at Jiang Yan's performance, he really doesn't know about Yi Yun's situation. He secretly remembered what Jiang Yan had said about Luo Feng in his heart. Wang Lao stopped procrastinating and whispered, it's not the ones you mentioned, but a senior student named Yi Yun. According to the information, he's not yet 18 years old this year. Yi Yun. Jiang Yan was really surprised this time. He could guess Luo Feng as boldly as possible. After all, Luo Feng had given him many surprises in the past 2 years. However, he didn't expect that Yi Yun, who had just become a senior student in mid-December, would actually participate in this month's quasi-warrior assessment. Uncle Wang, the probationary martial arts assessment hasn't started yet. Wait for me, I'll come over right away. At this moment, Jiang Nian's heart was full of surprises and doubts, as well as some expectations. In December, he also had a few encounters with Yi Yun. Although Yi Yun was surprised to become a senior student before the age of 18, he still couldn't believe that Yi Yun dared to participate in the quasi-martial arts assessment so soon. However, if Yi Yun truly possesses the ability to become a warrior this time and can be truly absorbed into the extreme martial arts school, as the martial arts instructor who teaches Yi Yun's growth, he can also benefit greatly from this relationship. This is also the reason why Jiang Nian was so excited after hearing the news of Wang Lao. Quickly hang up the phone with Mr. Wang, Jiang Nian arranged the work for the martial arts school and drove towards Mingyue community. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Assessment of candidates. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Assessment of candidates. Yi Yun was unaware of the conversation between Jiang Nian and Wang Lao, as he was slowly walking through the Mingyue community under the guidance of the soldier. At a glance, Yi Yun saw that in addition to the towering extreme hall in the center of the community, there were scattered single-family villas, with rockeries, pools, grasslands, etc. between them. It was evident that this Mingyue community was an excellent place to live. Not long after, under the guidance of the soldiers, Yi Yun entered the Extreme Guild Hall in the center of the community. The layout of the first floor of the Extreme Guild Hall is similar to the lobby of a hotel. As soon as Yi Yun walked in, he saw a sweet-looking girl smiling at him and saying, "Sir, please sit over there first. Wait until 10 o'clock in the morning, and we will conduct the quasi-warrior assessment together with the others." Yi Yun nodded and walked towards the lobby of the guild hall, which was a small bar with a waiter and a bartender. Yi Yun glanced and saw that 2 people were already sitting in the small bar. One of them had an ordinary appearance and sat quietly on the nearby sofa, very inconspicuous. And the other person, with a rough appearance, a sturdy figure, and a round beard, surprised Yi Yun to find that he was wearing a military uniform. Judging from the style of the uniform, it was definitely an orthodox Chinese military uniform. He didn't know these 2 people, and Yi Yun didn't mean to say hello. He ordered a cup of hot water and sat on the sofa, closing his eyes and adjusting his state, waiting for the arrival of 10 o'clock. In the following hour or so, some people arrived one after another, and with Yi Yun and the others, it could reach as many as 10 people. After the number of people increased, the small bar also became noisy. Quiet. A cold shout came from the center of the lobby. All the people present immediately stopped talking and cast their eyes over. A middle-aged man in a loose training suit glanced at Yi Yun and others and said, "Follow me upstairs. The assessment for potential martial artists will start soon. Remember to behave yourself. Many big shots have come today." Yi Yun and others remained silent and followed the man into the elevator. Soon, the elevator stopped on the 6th floor. The elevator door opened, and what came into view was a huge martial arts training hall. There were more than 10 people gathered in the hall, obviously the big shots who were assessing them this time. Upon seeing Yi Yun and others arrive, these dozen or so people also looked over at the same time. One middle-aged man with his hair draped over him took 2 steps forward, with a strong smile on his face. "Ha, not bad, there are still quite a few people this time." Yi Yun looked at the man who was introverted but brought him inexplicable pressure, and he already understood in his heart that he was the owner of the Extreme Guild Hall in Yangzhou City. Wu Tong. Note that there is a total of 1 Extreme Guild Hall and 12 Extreme Martial Arts Schools in Yangzhou City. The owner of each Extreme Martial Arts School, similar to Jiang Nian and others, is called the instructor, while the owner of the Extreme Guild Hall is called the chief instructor. With Wu Tong's position as the chief instructor of the extreme martial arts school in Yangzhou City, it is unknown how many outstanding warriors he has produced, and his own strength is naturally very strong. Overall, Wu Tong can also be considered a figure in Yangzhou City. The warrior who just led Yi Yun and his 10 companions took their ID cards from Yi Yun and handed them directly to the chief instructor, Wu Tong. Wu Tong casually took an ID card and swiped it over the nearby instrument. Do. A crystal-clear screen protruded from the instrument, and a large amount of personal information appeared on the screen. The avatar displayed on it was the burly man with a beard in military uniform. The first one, Tongguan. Tongguan took a step forward and bared his big white teeth. Wu Tong looked at him and said, "First, let's take a boxing test. People from your military background will also come to our extreme martial arts school for assessment. It's fun." Wu Tong was just joking that the extreme martial arts school was founded by the strongest person on earth today, Hong. Its branches are spread all over the world, and the assessment of quasi-warriors in the extreme martial arts school is also the most credible. The assessment results will be recognized in various regions of the world. So, not only people from the general public, but also the military of China, as well as some experts who have inherited and practiced family traditions, like to come to the extreme martial arts school for assessment. Let's start, Wu Tong instructed lightly. Yes. Tongguan immediately took a step forward, his eyes wide open, his left hand blocking his face, and his right fist curved and landed on the huge fist target. The fist target only trembled slightly, and numbers immediately appeared on the screen of the fist strength testing machine, 956 kilograms, Gua. Next, Yi Yun. With over 900 kilograms of fist power, Wu Tong couldn't get interested at all. He took another ID card and swiped it over the instrument, looked at the information on the screen, and let out a soft sigh. 17 years old. Such a young senior student from the Ian Branch Guild, why haven't I heard Jiang Nian mention it? Wu Tong looked behind him, and among them were 7 or 8 instructors from various extreme martial arts schools in Yangzhou City. They looked at Wu Tong's eyes and shook their heads, indicating that they had not heard from Yi Yun. At this moment, a ding sound caught the attention of those present. The elevator door opened again, and Wang Lao, with gray hair, and Jiang Nian walked into this martial arts training hall together. After seeing the situation in the audience, Jiang Nian noticed the information on Yi Yun's instrument and laughed heartily before coming to Wu Tong's side. "Chief Instructor, I'm not late, am I?" At this moment, the assessment of quasi-warriors was underway, and Wu Tong had no intention of chatting with Jiang Nian. After Wang Lao and Jiang Nian stood still, he gestured with his eyes that Yi Yun could start the assessment. Yi Yun didn't expect Jiang Nian to appear here, but it wasn't surprising either. He nodded and stood in front of the boxing test machine. Taking a deep breath and slowly exhaling, Yi Yun let out a light shout and swung a curve with his right hand, hitting the target heavily. 998 kilograms. Watching such a result, Yi Yun breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. He didn't want to reveal his true strength, so the punch he had just made seemed to be exerting all his strength, but in fact, he was pulling back his strength. Fortunately, the result was very good now, and Yi Yun was quite satisfied. Wu Tong touched his chin, nodded, and said with a hint of approval, "Not bad." When punching, he also kept in mind the stability of his own center of gravity. This way, although the punching force is reduced, it ensures the stability of subsequent punching. In the battle with monsters, this is a very important foundation. Yi Yun scratched his head somewhat uncomfortable. He was just hiding his strength, but was misunderstood by Wu Tong. Yi Yun didn't want to explain anything, which was more in line with his intention. Unlike Wu Tong's approval, Jiang Nian's heart was filled with shock at this moment. Although he had little contact with Yi Yun, he also knew that Yi Yun had just received the title of senior student in December last year. In less than a month, he was able to increase from 700 kilograms to nearly 1,000 kilograms. Jiang Nian knew that Yi Yun must have his own secret, but in the current situation, Jiang Nian didn't say much. He planned to have a good conversation with Yi Yun after the assessment was over. Yi Yun looked at the fist strength testing machine in front of him, his heart twitched, and he stared at the machine for a few seconds before slowly retreating into the crowd for assessment. In Yi Yun's mind, a small and mini model of a boxing test machine quietly took shape. When Yi Yun was experimenting with his replicated pupil at home before, he had some insights. When replicating physical objects, the replicated pupil needs to first scan the object and form a shrinking module of the object in his mind. Then, using his own or surrounding energy, the shrinking module can be realized. This is the process of replicating physical objects by the replicated pupil. Simply put, it is the three processes of scanning, copying, and realizing. Of course, Yi Yun couldn't understand the principle of the replication pupil at all, but he only needed to activate the talent's secret method according to his instincts, so there was no difficulty. Yi Yun knew that as his strength grew day by day, practicing and testing in public martial arts schools would inevitably expose many things that were not conducive to his plans. Therefore, before coming for the quasi-martial arts assessment, Yi Yun already had his own ideas in his mind. In the extreme martial arts school, the fist strength testing machines used at different stages are also different. According to the strength of the students, they are all graded differently. At this time, Yi Yun in the extreme martial arts school is also unable to access those top-level fist strength testing machines. However, the equipment used in this monthly quasi-warrior assessment is top-notch. After all, it is necessary to use it every month, and it must be on this most basic equipment to ensure that there will be no errors. You should know that in a previous extreme martial arts school's probationary assessment in a certain city, one of the participants in the assessment directly smashed the punching test machine in a circle. So, after that, extreme martial arts schools around the world learned their lessons and used the most advanced equipment in the quasi-warrior test, enough for God of War level warriors to unleash their strength at will. So, for Yi Yun, the equipment here and now is completely sufficient for his early use. Quickly, the boxing test was all over, and among these 10 people, only one did not meet the standard of 900 kilograms, unfortunately stopping. Following the instructions of Wu Tong and others, Yi Yun and a group of assessors conducted speed tests and neural response tests respectively. After these 2 rounds, only 3 of them met the standards in the last 3 items. Yi Yun grasped the suppression of his own strength, and the latter 2 were also worthy of standards without any outstanding features. In Yi Yun's mind, there were also 2 mini-models of machines added. Among them, what Yi Yun was most satisfied with was this neural response testing machine. This testing machine was very tall, with holes in the front like 6 Gatling machine guns. Upon closer inspection, there were dozens of such holes. For Yi Yun, after scanning this neural response testing machine with the replication pupil, its subsequent function is not only a testing machine, but also a helper for Yi Yun to exercise his body techniques. Yi Yun, congratulations. On February 1st, during the martial arts practical assessment, you will gather at the Extreme Martial Arts School and, under the guidance of the instructor, go hunting monsters outside the human base city with other quasi-warriors. Once you pass the practical assessment, you will be a true warrior. Yi Yun came to his senses from contemplation and saw the instructor Jiang Nian walking towards him with a smile on his face. Thank you, instructor. I will definitely pass the martial arts practical assessment on February 1st. Jiang Nian nodded and didn't say much. He turned his head slightly, gesturing for Yi Yun to follow. Brothers, please recommend tickets to support it. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. HR Alliance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 HR Alliance. The few people who failed the assessment this time have already left the martial arts school, while Yi Yun and the others, under the guidance of Jiang Nian and others, gathered by Wu Tong's side. Wu Tong looked at the 3 people who had successfully passed the quasi-martial arts assessment and was also very happy in his heart. A rare smile appeared on his lips and he said, "Okay. Yi Yun, Bai Lin, Zhao Qing, all three of you are from our Yangzhou City Extreme Martial Arts School. Lao Jiang, Lao Wu, your work is progressing very well." There were a total of 10 people participating in the assessment this time, including people from all over. The ones who successfully passed the assessment were all members of his extreme martial arts school. No wonder Wu Tong was in a good mood. Wu Tong straightened his expression, waved lightly, and a person beside him immediately handed over a thick stack of paper. "This is the application contract for martial arts combat assessment. Take a look, and 1 month will be the day for you to participate in the martial arts combat assessment. Although your physical fitness meets the basic requirements of martial arts, in order to become a true martial artist, you must participate in the martial arts combat assessment. I can responsibly tell you that the mortality rate of martial artists in actual combat assessment is very low, but the disability rate is very high. You are not yet a true warrior. If you want to quit now, you still have time." As Wu Tong's sharp gaze swept over them, Yi Yun and his companions did not flinch at all. They were all capable of achieving the physical fitness of a warrior in the current Earth's environment, and were all 1 in 100. Before becoming a warrior, these things had been thoroughly considered, and of course, they would not be discouraged by Wu Tong's simple words. The content of the contract is very simple, truthfully and completely explaining the specific content of the warrior's actual combat assessment. In case of any accidents during the warrior's actual combat assessment, Extreme Martial Arts School will not be responsible. Without any hesitation, the three of them stepped forward to take over the martial arts practical assessment contract, brushing brush, and quickly signed their respective names firmly. Wu Tong nodded in satisfaction and then operated on the nearby keyboard. An article appeared on the wall. No need for Wu Tong's introduction, Yi Yun knows that this article will be distributed after passing the quasi-martial arts assessment. Nowadays, there is only one gene original cultivation method on the whole earth. The 5 Hearts Towards Heaven cultivation method. Originally, Yi Yun only knew that there was such a cultivation method, but he didn't know the principle in his heart. After carefully reading it now, Yi Yun finally understood it in his heart. The reason why martial artists are powerful is through the cultivation of genetic energy, and the fundamental principle of cultivating genetic energy is to absorb the free cosmic energy in the universe, allowing every cell in their body to absorb this energy and gradually strengthen their body and genes. However, ordinary humans on Earth cannot feel the existence of these cosmic energies at all because their genetic optimization level is not enough. Therefore, only by continuously exercising and meeting the 3 basic standards of a junior warrior can they reach the threshold of cultivating genetic energy. With Wu Tong's brief introduction, Yi Yun and his companions all understood the preciousness of this 5 Hearts Towards Heaven cultivation method and carefully memorized it in their minds. Watching Yi Yun and the others look serious, Wu Tong nodded slightly and continued, "This 5 Hearts Towards Heaven cultivation method is the only genetic original energy cultivation method on our planet. After you go back, starting from today, you must practice every day and never slack off. However, based on our experience, everyone's progress in practicing this 5 Hearts Towards the Sky cultivation method is different. Genius and demon characters may only need a few hours to feel the free energy in the universe, while some may even need a year of continuous effort to feel it first. So, you can't just be proud of your current performance, you must keep working hard." Yi Yun understood Wu Tong's words, and he was also worried. Although he had already replicated Luo Feng's spiritual teacher talent at this time, he had no confidence in experiencing cosmic energy for the first time. However, considering that being a spiritual teacher with strong spiritual power would definitely help him feel energy, Yi Yun gradually relaxed in his heart. Of course, Yi Yun knows that the 5 Hearts Towards Heaven cultivation method is very important at this stage, but in the subsequent development, in the world of devouring the starry sky, perception is the most important. Whether it is the cultivation of the state of mind or the cultivation of various laws, this is the standard for measuring whether a person is talented or evil. Since you have all recorded the 5 Hearts Towards Heaven cultivation method, that's all for today's quasi-martial arts assessment. If you pass next month's martial arts practical assessment, I hope you can still join our Extreme Martial Arts School in the future and become a martial artist of our Extreme Martial Arts School. We will give you the most favorable contract treatment, and you will never regret joining us. All the cultivation resources and conditions of our Extreme Martial Arts School are definitely top-notch on earth. Wu Tong finally instructed Yi Yun and the 3 of them to end this quasi-warrior assessment. Leaving Mingyue community, Yi Yun politely declined the lunch invitation from Bai Lin and Zhao Qing, who had passed the assessment together, and instead left with Jiang Nian, who arrived. After Yi Yun passed the quasi-warrior assessment, Jiang Nian's attitude towards Yi Yun also changed. No matter what secrets Yi Yun had, at this time, he was already a genuine junior warrior with physical fitness, and naturally could not treat his previous trainees like he did. Ha, Yi Yun, good kid. Don't look at me like this. What secrets do you have yourself? I won't ask. I just want to tell you, you must take the last words from the chief instructor to heart. Yi Yun glanced at Jiang Nian, a bald man with a smile on his face, and said, Instructor, are you talking about joining the Extreme Martial Arts School? Jiang Nian still nodded with a smile. Although talent is important for us martial artists to cultivate, the resources, conditions, and environment for cultivation are also very important. The head of our Extreme Martial Arts School is the world's strongest Hong. The Extreme Martial Arts School is also the world's largest martial arts school, and our treatment conditions are definitely not comparable to other forces. Upon hearing this, Yi Yun truly agreed. Although the Extreme Martial Arts School did not have significant advantages in some basic resources, Hong, as the largest expert on Earth today, did have some high-end things in his hands that other forces did not have. As Yi Yun pondered, Jiang Nian continued, take the 5 Hearts Towards Heaven cultivation method, just now as an example. It is indeed something that every warrior can cultivate, but beyond that, there are different guidance techniques that determine the progress of cultivation. And our Extreme Martial Arts School is completely ahead of other forces in terms of guidance techniques. The overall master has personally created 9 first-class guidance techniques. As long as you are talented enough, you have a chance to cultivate them. Yi Yun looked at Jiang Nian, who had been making him choose the Extreme Martial Arts School, feeling a bit helpless. He had already made a decision in his heart. In the early stages of earth cultivation, he must have grasped Hong's thigh. As for the guidance technique mentioned by Jiang Nian, Yi Yun also knew for a long time that the purpose of practicing guidance technique is to increase the limit of cosmic energy that one's own cells can absorb every day. That is to say, a normal person can practice the 5 Hearts Towards Heaven cultivation method for 20 minutes a day, and every cell in the body can absorb it to saturation. After practicing guidance technique, one can absorb it for 1 or 2 hours, so for a long time, the speed of cultivation cannot be compared. Yi Yun said helplessly, Instructor, I have been training in our martial arts school and have long been a member of the school. When I truly pass the assessment and become a martial artist, I will definitely choose our Extreme Martial Arts School. Instructor, you can rest assured. After saying these words, Yi Yun leaned closer to Jiang Nian and couldn't help but lower his voice. Coach, you said we will both be from the Extreme Martial Arts School in the future. Can I trouble you with something today? Jiang Nian asked with some confusion, today. What's up with you? Yi Yun smiled and said, Hey, instructor, I finally came to the center of Yangzhou City. Can you take me around the HR Alliance branch here? Jiang Nian raised his eyebrows upon hearing the words and said, Oh, Yi Yun can't see that you still know about the HR Alliance. However, you haven't officially become a warrior yet and have nothing on you. Why are you going to the HR Alliance branch? The HR Alliance, also known as the Human Rights Alliance, was established by many ancient wealthy families in the West after the Great Cataclysm, and is also known as an underground alliance. Its purpose is to protect their interests. After so many years of development, it has become the most powerful force in the world, reportedly controlling half of the economy on Earth, with astonishing strength. Of course, Yi Yun knew that the HR Alliance was claiming to be the world's largest force at this time, just because Hong ignored them. At this time, Hong and the Thunder God's strength was completely different from the other people on Earth. If you really think about it, Hong and the Thunder God have the ability to rule the Earth. Yi Yun didn't feel any rejection from Jiang Nian's words and immediately said, "Instructor, I'm just curious. I heard that the HR Alliance is the organization with the most transactions between martial artists, and it claims to have everything it wants. Now that there's this opportunity, I want to see it. Instructor, treat you to dinner later. You can take me there." Jiang Nian estimated from the bottom of his heart that there was nothing wrong at this time, and he still had the intention of befriending Yi Yun. Therefore, after a little consideration, he agreed to Yi Yun's request. After stopping a car on the roadside and reporting a location, the two of them arrived at a landmark high-rise building in the center of Yangzhou City in just over a dozen minutes. Although the HR Alliance is known as an underground alliance, they are still powerful chambers of commerce on the surface. Whether ordinary people or warriors, they can provide perfect services. Looking at the 100-meter commercial building in front of him, Yi Yun couldn't help but feel that the HR Alliance was really too wealthy. Yangzhou City is just a fortress in Jiangnan Base City, with such exaggerated branches, and its strength is definitely unpredictable. Following Jiang Nian's footsteps, the two of them entered this building. After entering the HR Alliance branch of Yangzhou City, Jiang Nian did not stay at the bottom level and directly led Yi Yun to the 20th floor. From this level up, there were only areas for receiving warriors. Stepping out of the elevator, the area on the 20th floor was very spacious, presenting a large exhibition hall in front of Yi Yun. A large number of transparent glass counters were distributed in the hall, and various items were placed inside these counters. Yi Yun followed Jiang Nian into the hall, where there were about 20 people walking around different counters, occasionally stopping to examine. From the 20th to the 30th floors, there is a hall pattern like this. The counters are filled with monster materials, weapons, armor, communication tools, as well as various guidance techniques, body method secrets, attack type secrets, medical potions, gene potions, and so on. As long as you can imagine, there are usually all kinds of them here. You can take a look first. I saw acquaintances. Thank you brothers for your recommended ticket support. I hope every passing friend can vote for a free recommendation ticket. Thank you very much. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. First practice. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. First practice. Watching Jiang Nian walk away, Yi Yun's heart was filled with thoughts. What he said was really big. I want the spirit of grass and trees, the intelligent fighter jet of the wilderness, and the black god set. Is there one here? Putting aside his thoughts, Yi Yun looked at different exhibition counters and couldn't help but brighten his eyes. Ha, this exhibition area from the 20th to the 30th floors has countless good things. For Yi Yun at the current stage, it is definitely a treasure trove of early rise. Suppressing some excitement, Yi Yun came to a counter and looked at a snow-white pointed horn placed in it. With the accompanying text, Yi Yun knew that it was a unicorn belonging to the D-level monster horned wolf. The earth monsters in the swallowing starry sky are divided into Beast Soldier level, Beast General level, and Lord level. Junior Beast Soldier level H, Intermediate Beast Soldier level G, Advanced Beast Soldier level F, Junior Beast Soldier level E, Intermediate Beast Soldier level D, Advanced Beast Soldier level C, Junior Lord level B, Intermediate Lord level A, and Advanced Lord level S. There are a total of 9 levels, corresponding to humans from Junior Warrior to Advanced God of War. Ordinary beast level monsters can be killed with hot weapons, which means that some of the materials on their bodies are not particularly valuable. The most expensive F-level advanced beast level materials can only cost up to 10,000 yuan, so there is no trace of these beast level materials in the exhibition hall of the HR Alliance. And the value of this intermediate beast, the unicorn of the horned wolf, is completely different. The price tag next to it is 20 million Chinese coins, which makes Yi Yun shudder at this moment. It's really too expensive for Yi Yun at this time. However, although Yi Yun was moved in his heart, it did not affect the movements of his eyes. Through the glass counter, his eyes were focused, and the talent's secret technique, Copy Eye, was activated. After a while, a small horned wolf single horn model appeared in Yi Yun's mind. With this model, only the process of materialization is needed after going back, then Yi Yun has an identical single horn worth 20 million Chinese dollars. This is why Yi Yun asked Jiang Nian to bring him to the HR Alliance branch of Yangzhou City. These valuable materials are also secondary, mainly to replicate some secret scripts. After all, although he is confident that he will be valued by the Extreme Martial Arts School and receive sufficient training after passing the martial arts practical assessment, Yi Yun does not want to waste this month's time. He first needs to learn some basic secret scripts, which can also lay a foundation for future cultivation. The HR Alliance claims to have nothing that cannot be bought. Bring me everything, you. And those precious monster materials, armor, weapons, and so on are not just accessories. Later, when Yi Yun participates in monster hunting, they are all things that can be used. It can be said that in the days to come, Yi Yun's journey of hunting monsters is only to exercise himself. Money is definitely not lacking for him. After the successful experiment, Yi Yun wandered around the hall, checking different items and occasionally activating the Copy Eye to scan and record some things that he could see now. Yi Yun paid attention to Jiang Nian and found him chatting with two middle-aged men in a corner of the hall. He didn't disturb them and walked up the stairs to the 21st floor. According to Jiang Nian, the 20th to 30th floors of this building display a variety of items, all of which can be traded as long as they can afford the price. However, it's not that the higher the floor, the better things are. Yi Yun is planning to take a turn around these floors. In his opinion, he probably won't come here in the future. About an hour later, Yi Yun was strolling on the 26th floor when Jiang Nian arrived by his side. Yi Yun, is that okay? You've seen it for so long. After passing the assessment and joining our extreme martial arts school as a formal warrior, you will definitely have a lot of outdoor experience. When you go to the HR Alliance branch in Jiangnan Bay City, the things there are not comparable to those in Yangzhou City. Yi Yun nodded and knew that Jiang Nian had already taken care of the matter. He immediately followed Jiang Nian and had lunch with him before returning to Ian District in Yangzhou City along the same route. After informing Luo Feng and Wei Wen of the news that he had successfully passed the quasi-warrior assessment, Yi Yun returned to his home and prepared to test the 5 hearts towards heaven cultivation method he had just obtained. After completing the assessment, Wu Tong and his team did not send each of them a copy of the 5 hearts towards heaven cultivation method, because the principle of this cultivation method is actually very simple. The most important thing is to pose in a 5 hearts towards heaven posture and sense the energy in the universe. Following the instructions in the article, Yi Yun folded his feet together, with the other 2 feet facing upwards, and placed his hands on his legs with the palms facing upwards, keeping his waist and back straight. Breath, suck, suck, suck. Yi Yun slowly adjusted his breathing, waiting for it to gradually stabilize before controlling himself and making his heart quiet. Gradually, Yi Yun completely controlled himself and calmed down, his breathing becoming slightly imperceptible. Then he began to try to sense the energy of his travels through the universe. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Gradually, time passed by, and Yi Yun could no longer feel the passage of time in his heart, as if he felt a bit half asleep and half awake. It's so comfortable. In a daze, Yi Yun felt his 5 hearts, namely the palms, soles, and Baihui acupoints, on his head. These 5 positions had a faint aura, gradually flowing into his body at the slow speed of the machine. At this moment, Yi Yun suddenly woke up and was very certain that the slowly flowing breath into his body was the cosmic energy mentioned in the cultivation method. According to the article, once the physical limit of a quasi-warrior is reached, one can start practicing genetic energy. Even if not sensed, the energy of the universe will be slowly absorbed by the warrior's body unconsciously. After feeling the magical cosmic energy, Yi Yun suddenly woke up. He continued to maintain a relaxed state and breathe, his consciousness focused on the 5 hearts, and naturally emitted thoughts of absorbing cosmic energy. Then, naturally, the speed of absorption at the position of the 5 hearts began to surge, increasing nearly 100 times in an instant. That feeling was as if a water pipe with only a small crack suddenly burst open, and the surging water burst out directly. The invisible and colorless cosmic energy was like this water flow, continuously flowing into Yi Yun's body from the position of the 5 hearts. After cosmic energy flooded into Yi Yun's body, a trembling sensation emanated from the depths of his bone marrow, causing Yi Yun's body to tremble uncontrollably. Since birth, when everyone's physical fitness has not reached the standard, they have never consciously absorbed cosmic energy. Therefore, every cell in Yi Yun's body is in a very hungry state. Now, for the first time, Yi Yun actively absorbs this cosmic energy, and every cell in his body is crazily absorbing this energy. As time passed by minute by second, Yi Yun's body underwent earth-shattering changes, whether it was the surface skin, muscles, bones, deep cells of the body, or even the genes themselves. These changes are the evolution of life and an optimization of life genes. This kind of change is inevitable for every warrior in the process of cultivation. Only by continuously optimizing their own genes can their physical fitness be comprehensively improved. Yi Yun can feel that the result of his cultivation this time should be very good. The first time he absorbs cosmic energy, perhaps he can push himself to the level of a warrior's physical fitness. Because Yi Yun is different from Luo Feng, who practiced for the first time at that time. His physical fitness has reached the level of an intermediate warrior's 2,000 kilograms fist power, and his genetic foundation is high. Most importantly, Yi Yun's spiritual and mental power in his brain has been fully awakened. Therefore, when he absorbs cosmic energy to strengthen his physical fitness, the dark golden sphere in his brain, which is the collection of spiritual and mental power, is also accelerating the release of trace energy. These dark golden energies are also integrated into Yi Yun's body, and together with the cosmic energy inhaled into his body, they are synchronously optimizing and transforming his body. The improvement in physical fitness further stimulates the dark golden sphere, and under the simultaneous action of the 2 steps, Yi Yun's first cultivation time becomes quite long. In this way, after more than 6 hours, Yi Yun finally felt that his cells had reached a certain saturation in absorbing energy, so he did not continue to forcefully absorb energy. He slowly adjusted his breathing, stopped the progress of the 5 hearts towards heaven cultivation method, and slowly opened his eyes. After glancing at it for a while, Yi Yun let out a long breath. I remember when Luo Feng first practiced for a full 2 hours, his strength improvement was also at a normal level. It should have increased by a few hundred kilograms, but it was also because he suddenly awakened his spiritual and mental abilities that he reached over 3,000 kilograms. Now that I have practiced for a full 6 hours, I still have a dual improvement in both spiritual and cosmic energy. I don't know what level of boxing strength I have reached now. With this in mind, Yi Yun originally wanted to display the scanned and copied boxing test equipment during the assessment, but then realized that he would be moving in a month and it would be troublesome to move around. The source of the boxing test machine was also difficult to explain, so he stopped this idea. It's already late now, and Yi Yun has no intention of going to the martial arts school to test again. He exercised a little at home and became familiar with his surging strength, so he went straight to sleep. Today, he continued to use the copy eye and just had his first practice. His spirit was indeed a bit tired. The next morning, Yi Yun got up and tidied up a bit before heading to the Extreme Martial Arts School in Ian District. Early this morning, Yi Yun didn't see too many people inside the martial arts school. He went to the senior student teaching building of the martial arts school and walked directly up to the 3rd floor. At this moment, in the third-floor martial arts training hall, there were only a few familiar senior students practicing martial arts. Yi Yun was not very familiar with them, so he just nodded to each other and walked directly to the staircase from the third floor to the fourth floor. Next to the staircase on the fourth floor, there is a small room where an elderly person is on duty. What are you doing? Students are not allowed to enter this fourth floor. The old man on duty had originally seen Yi Yun and was about to drive him away when he suddenly showed a surprised expression, clearly recognizing Yi Yun. Oh. It's Yi Yun. Director Jiang greeted us yesterday, and you have passed the quasi-martial arts assessment and can now enter the fourth floor. You're really amazing. Come on, go up. Thank you, Li Bo. Yi Yun knew he was already qualified, so there was no surprise and walked into the fourth floor with a smile on his face. The decoration of the martial arts training hall on the fourth floor is significantly better than the lower floors, and the various equipment are also more upscale. Yi Yun followed the plan and first arrived at the position of the fist strength testing machine. He needed to know what level of strength he had reached during his night of cultivation. I am truly grateful to my brothers for their support in recommending tickets, which has given me unlimited motivation. I will continue to work hard. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. 8,000 kilograms, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 8,000 kilograms. Yi Yun is no longer afraid that the test here will be discovered by the people in the martial arts school. After all, he has already obtained the 5 hearts towards heaven cultivation method. At this time, Yi Yun is not only afraid that others will know his strength, but also wants to actively demonstrate it. You should know that when he is assessed as a quasi-warrior, he only shows that he has just reached the standard of a junior warrior. Even if Wu Tong and others think he has hidden his strength, at most they will think that his fist strength is over 1,000 kilograms. Generally speaking, when practicing the 5 hearts towards heaven cultivation method for the first time, one can fully measure a person's level of genius by absorbing cosmic energy, how much they can absorb, and how much strength they can improve. The most common person, the first time they practice, increases by about 300 kilograms, and those who can increase by 600 kilograms are already quite outstanding. Some people can reach 1,000 kilograms, which is considered elite. However, Luo Feng, relying on his spiritual awakening, suddenly increased by 2,000 kilograms and was recognized as a monster by Jiangnan. The entire Jiangnan Bay City, with a population of 200 million, can only achieve 1 or 2 in a year. It is precisely because of this that Luo Feng's display of genius has received the attention of the extreme martial arts school, including Zhuge Tao's investment and the initial 1 billion yuan purchased secret script permission, which greatly helped Luo Feng. So, with such benefits, Yi Yun naturally wouldn't miss them. Based on his understanding of the extreme martial arts school, under the leadership of Hong, the overall quality of the school is very good. Even if he behaves like a demon, as long as he doesn't do anything out of line, Hong will only help him grow for the development of the earth, without any other thoughts. This is also the fundamental reason why Yi Yun dares to test his strength in this martial arts school. Yi Yun stood in front of the punch testing machine, focused and exerting his strength, with his waist and back like a dragon. His right fist was like a shell, hitting the punch target of the punch testing machine fiercely. 8,526 kilograms. Standing up again, Yi Yun looked at the numbers in front of him with an excited expression. Although he could feel that his progress had greatly improved this time, he did not expect to reach such a level. With over 8,000 kilograms of fist power, he had already reached the level of a junior general. In general, boxing strength represents physical fitness. He knows that he can definitely meet the 3 standards. If his physical fitness reaches the level of a junior general, then the intensity of mental strength is 2 levels higher than his physical fitness, which means he has reached the level of a senior general. I didn't expect such a change to happen in less than a month. In the beginning, talent was indeed the king of cultivation. The mental strength has reached the level of a senior general, and Yi Yun's heart has become a bit relaxed. With this guarantee, he can be more adept at exploring the wilderness in the future. Yi Yun then casually tested his speed and neural response, and without any accidents, all of them met the standards of a junior general. After some thought, Yi Yun dialed Jiang Nian's phone number. Not long after, a fierce, thud 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 sound was heard, and a figure quickly rushed downstairs. In a few seconds, it arrived at Yi Yun's side. Ha, Yi, you're not lying to me, are you? Can you really achieve such an improvement after just one night of cultivation? Yi Yun looked at Jiang Nian, whose face was full of disbelief. Above his bald head, there seemed to be water vapor emanating from intense exercise, and he grinned, revealing his neat 8 teeth. Hey instructor, haven't you all said that our first time practicing the 5 hearts towards heaven cultivation method as martial artists absorbed energy from the universe was the biggest improvement we had? Last night, I followed the instructions of the cultivation method and felt that my strength must have improved a lot. I came to the martial arts school early in the morning to test it, but I didn't expect that the improvement would be so great. Jiang Nian has rich experience, and he couldn't see Yi Yun's Versailles behavior at this time. He was indeed surprised that Yi Yun could feel his talent for absorbing cosmic energy at night, but he couldn't believe that his first cultivation could enhance his strength by so much. Even if it was 1,000 kilograms, now Yi Yun's statement is that he has increased by more than 7,000 kilograms, which Jiang Nian finds difficult to accept. Jiang Nian didn't say a word. He silently came to the front of the boxing test machine, carefully adjusted it, and after confirming that there were no problems, he said in a deep voice, Yi Yun, come on, give it another punch with all your might, I want to see it with my own eyes. Yi Yun remained smiling as his right fist hit the target heavily, 8,537 kilograms. Looking at the numbers displayed on the boxing test machine in front of him, Jiang Nian was even more shocked and had to accept that what Yi Yun said was true. He remained silent for a while and pulled Yi Yun to test his speed and neural reaction speed one by one. After both were fine, Jiang Nian pulled Yi Yun to a nearby corner and sat down. Instructor, are you okay? Yi Yun tentatively asked, breaking the somewhat dull atmosphere. Jiang Nian glanced deeply at Yi Yun and then shook his head with a bitter smile, it's okay, it's already okay. I just can't accept it a bit, but now that this matter is confirmed, I'm actually a little happier. If you can achieve your current results, our Extreme Branch Hall in Ian District can definitely benefit from you. You may not know the importance of things. As far as I know, being able to directly feel the cosmic energy in complete autonomous absorption during the first practice of the 5 hearts towards heaven cultivation method represents a warrior's cultivation talent, which is definitely outstanding. And I have never heard of being able to lift over 7,000 kilograms after absorbing cosmic energy for the first time. Really, never before. After saying these words, Jiang Nian seemed to express his feelings. After pausing for a while, he continued, however, you don't have to worry. Since you started exercising at our Extreme Martial Arts Club in Ian District, we have known you well, especially after you became a senior student. Therefore, we are very confident in you and I hope you have full confidence in our Extreme Martial Arts Club. I don't know what kind of fate you have, which has led to the current situation, but the fact is here, everyone must acknowledge it. Based on your current performance, it is definitely the unprecedented level of demon encountered by our Extreme Martial Arts School. Yi Yun looked at Jiang Nian's slightly red eyes and suddenly felt a little embarrassed as he listened to these words. However, at this moment, Yi Yun did not forget his plan. He smiled and asked, so instructor, with the talent I have shown, how will the martial arts school treat me? Jiang Nian took a deep look at Yi Yun and realized that only he had been so excited until now. The young man in front of him seemed very calm. I don't know the specific treatment, but it definitely won't be worse. In general, if you pass the martial artist's actual combat assessment and join our Extreme Martial Arts School, there will be a villa allocation and a startup fund of 1 million huaxia coins. In addition to a villa, my most talented character also has a startup fund of 20 million yuan, plus a consumption limit of 50 million yuan, which can be deducted when purchasing guidance skills and secret scripts. Yi Yun was very familiar with what Jiang Nian said, and he also knew that the total contract of 70 million yuan in the end was the best treatment for monster-level geniuses in the extreme martial arts school, while Luo Feng was able to get a contract worth 1 billion yuan because he received recognition from Zhuge Tao. The reason why Yi Yun wants to showcase all his strength is not for these benefits and contracts. His goal is the elite training camp at the global headquarters of Extreme Martial Arts School, commonly known as the God of War Reserve Camp. Only by fully demonstrating his talents can he possibly receive full training from the Extreme Martial Arts School. In addition to wanting to receive training from the Extreme Martial Arts School, the most crucial thing for Yi Yun is to have early contact with the first person on Earth. Hong. As the first person on Earth today, Hong's cultivation level is second only to others. The most crucial thing is that Hong has a state of mind and cultivation that surpasses everyone, which also leads to his understanding of the law being extremely compatible. Just at the planetary level, he has the presence of the realm of light, making him invincible in terms of star level. What Yi Yun most wants is Hong Na's abnormal state of mind cultivation. He understands that this is an important foundation that can support his progress, and it is extremely helpful for his subsequent understanding of laws and the cultivation process. The earlier he obtains it, the better. Jiang Nian and Yi Yun suddenly thought of something and quickly said, "Yi Yun, I remember. Based on your performance at this moment, maybe you could be selected to join the elite training camp of our Extreme Martial Arts School headquarters. You must have never heard of this before, and it was only then that I realized that there may not be anyone in Yangzhou City who can join this training camp for a year, but Yi Yun, you definitely have a chance." Elite Training Camp. Jiang Nian nodded and said, "Well, there are two major training camps at the headquarters of our Extreme Martial Arts School, the Elite Training Camp and the Basic Training Camp. The Elite Training Camp is also known as the God of War Preparation Camp. This means that entering this elite training camp means you have the potential to become a God of War. As far as I know, a large part of those who come out of this training camp have successfully become the God of War in the end. If you can enter this elite training camp, then you can get the best cultivation environment, cultivation resources, and the most outstanding teachers in the world today. Even our main gym owner Hong and the Thunder God gym owner of the Thunderbolt Martial Arts School will give some guidance when they have time. As long as you have enough talent, you will definitely receive the best training and fastest growth in this elite training camp." Yi Yun nodded, knowing that his physical fitness was only slightly exaggerated at the moment. Relying solely on this would not attract much attention. The reason why Luo Feng was selected to enter the elite training camp was because he had cultivated the nine-fold Thunder Blade and entered the third level. Being able to unleash 2.8 times one's physical fitness is the talent that can be valued. So, even if Yi Yun's current performance is known by the senior management of the Extreme Martial Arts School, at most he will receive the same treatment as Luo Feng in the past. Later, we will observe him and decide on his future treatment based on his development. Yi Yun's plan is to focus on practicing martial arts for the month before the actual combat assessment, and then join the Extreme Martial Arts School step by step. According to the arrangement of the Extreme Martial Arts School, he will enter a small team to start training. When he comes into contact with more martial arts, Yi Yun believes that his body method and strength level will definitely not be bad. In the circle of martial artists, there are definitely crouching tigers and hidden dragons. With Yi Yun's talent, even a strong warrior at the God of War level will definitely have the opportunity to encounter them. When the time comes, the cultivation achievements of these warriors, whether it's body methods or physical strength, hey, bring them all to you. Request support for recommended tickets. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Zhuge Tao's Investment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Zhuge Tao's Investment. Jiang Nian patted Yi Yun's shoulder and said with a smile, "Yi Yun, no matter what, I will report your situation to the higher authorities this time, and I will also try my best to fight for the best treatment for you. Please wait for 2 days, and there should be news in a few days." Yi Yun smiled and nodded. He knew Jiang Yan's character, as well as the attitude of the leaders of the extreme martial arts school in Jiangnan Bay City towards geniuses. Therefore, Yi Yun had no worries about being valued and cultivated. Not as Jiang Yan said in a few days. When Jiang Yan reported it, Yi Yun received news from Jiang Yan that evening that he would rush to the extreme martial arts school in Jiangnan Bay City with Jiang Yan. The person in charge of Jiangnan Bay City had to test Yi Yun in person. Due to the special situation this time, there was no delay in the itinerary. We went straight to the special passage of the extreme martial arts school. Soon, Jiang Yan, Yi Yun, and Wu Tong, who had heard the news, arrived together in the main urban area of Jiangnan Bay City. Although it was already late at night, looking at the still brightly lit scene in front of him, Yi Yun couldn't help but sigh that the main urban area of Jiangnan Bay City was indeed incomparable to Yangzhou City. The headquarters of the Extreme Martial Arts Museum in Jiangnan Bay City appears even more imposing, whether it is in terms of land area, building scale, or the troops stationed at the entrance of the Extreme Martial Arts Museum, all of which demonstrate the strength of the world's largest martial arts museum. Jiang Yan and Wu Tong led Yi Yun through the gate inspection and entered the main entrance of the Jiangnan Bay City General Association of the Extreme Martial Arts School. The most prominent building in the entire architectural complex is the towering skyscraper, with the 4 characters, Extreme Martial Arts School, visible from a distance. This building is the headquarters of our Extreme Martial Arts School in Jiangnan Bay City. According to the level of the warriors, they can all gather here. Whether it's practicing, trading, or completing tasks, they can all be completed here. Afterwards, you will also frequently enter and exit there. Today, our goal is not here. After a brief explanation, the 3 of them continued to travel deeper and for about a few minutes, they arrived at a 3-story villa. At the entrance of the villa, there was already an elderly man with gray hair waiting here. Bai Bo. Jiang Yan and Wu Tong all spoke out to greet each other, while the old man, known as Bai Bo, and the other 3 approached the villa. They did not immediately introduce the 3 of them, but whispered around Wu Tong and Jiang Yan, Wu Tong, you 2 didn't lie to me, did you? I invited all the supervisors this time, so don't make any mistakes here. Wu Tong smiled and whispered, Bai Bo, don't worry. Even if the machine's data may be incorrect, Lao Jiang and I have personally tried it. Yi Yun has indeed reached the level I mentioned and won't disappoint you. Bai Bo nodded and smiled kindly at Yi Yun, wrinkles wrinkling his face. He then led the 3 of them into the villa, without stopping on the 1st floor, and went straight down the stairs to the 2nd floor. As soon as he entered the 2nd floor of this villa, Yi Yun's eyes suddenly opened up. The space on the 2nd floor of this villa was not decorated too much, and the overall layout was just like a martial arts training hall, and the size was not much different from the martial arts training hall in Ian District. Several sofas were placed next to them, among which a middle-aged man in Tang attire was sitting, and 4 men and women in white suits were respectfully standing aside. The middle-aged man in Tang attire had a thin figure, a hooked nose, and a gentle smile on his eyes. He had a soft and feminine feeling, and Yi Yun recognized him with just a glance. This middle-aged man in Tang attire should be Zhuge Tao, one of the 4 giants and 3 executives of Jiangnan Bay City in the original work. Yi Yun was not surprised by the appearance of Zhuge Tao at this time. According to his understanding of Zhuge Tao, he was a person who greatly enjoyed making friends and cultivating talented individuals, which could strengthen his background and status. At this time, Yi Yun clearly had extremely high potential and was worth Zhuge Tao's introduction. I've met the supervisor. At the moment of seeing Zhuge Tao, both Jiang Yan and Wu Tong respectfully said hello. Jiang Yan gestured to Yi Yun with his eyes, and then Yi Yun followed suit and said hello. Zhuge Tao nodded with a smile, stood up, and spoke softly, is this Yi Yun? He really has an extraordinary momentum. If there's no problem, let's start. Jiang Yan and Wu Tong both nodded, and then the 4 people behind Zhuge Tao began to move. They took out precision instruments and began to check step by step against the nearby fist strength testing machine, speed testing machine, and neural reaction testing machine. After a while, "Supervisor, no problem." Zhuge Tao nodded and said to Jiang Nian and the others, "Old Wu, I naturally trust you, but everything still depends on reality. Let Yi Yun test it again now." Under the instructions of Wu Tong and Jiang Nian, Yi Yun first came to the boxing test machine. He knew that this was an essential step, but Yi Yun remained calm in his heart without any nervousness. Still a punch that exploded with all its might, hitting the target heavily, 8,529 kg speed test. 92 m/s. Neurological response test. Perfect for beginner-level generals and good for intermediate-level generals. After completing all 3 tests, Zhuge Tao no longer had any doubts about Yi Yun's physical fitness at this time. Yi Yun was indeed able to reach his current level after obtaining the 5 Hearts Towards Heaven cultivation method, which at least indicates that Yi Yun has a talent in absorbing cosmic energy that ordinary people cannot match. And don't think this kind of talent is simple. Although there is no practical combat experience, power level, body method, and various attack techniques to support it, without physical fitness, one cannot become a peerless powerhouse among warriors. But what if one can continue to support cultivation to the level of God of War, or even surpass the level of God of War? At least in Zhuge Tao's many years of career and experience, he had never heard of anyone who could directly increase his fist power by over 7,000 kilograms when he first absorbed cosmic energy for cultivation. Therefore, no matter how Yi Yun performed in other aspects, Zhuge Tao still felt that at this time, Yi Yun was enough for him to invest. Not bad, really good. After seeing the confirmed situation, Zhuge Tao was obviously in a good mood. It was really not easy to meet talents like Yi Yun in the area under his jurisdiction. Zhuge Tao nodded at Yi Yun with a smile and continued, "I believe old Jiang and his team should have told you before about the contract treatment of our extreme martial arts school towards monster-level geniuses, right?" After receiving a positive response, Zhuge Tao turned his head slightly and said to a man who had been standing behind him, "Go and draft a contract. According to the template we used for treating genius warriors in our extreme martial arts school, except for one allocated villa exclusively for extreme martial arts school warriors, the initial available funds will be changed to 50 million renminbi. The cost of purchasing body method secrets, guidance techniques, cultivation and attack secrets, weapons and equipment, resource treasures, etc. from our extreme martial arts school extreme home for the first time, as long as the total price does not exceed 300 million renminbi, can be directly reimbursed, and the excess part will be counted as my expenses." After Zhuge Tao finished speaking, everyone present, except for Yi Yun, showed a shocked expression. Jiang Nian and Wu Tong's intention was indeed to strive for greater training for Yi Yun, but to their surprise, Zhuge Tao's level of importance was even higher than they had imagined. After listening to Zhuge Tao's words, the man in a white suit quickly regained his senses and turned his head to operate. In no time, a printed contract was handed over to Zhuge Tao. Zhuge Tao flipped through it for a moment, then signed his name directly, and slowly walked to Yi Yun's side with the contract, a smile on his lips. "Ha, Yi Yun, take a look. If there's no problem, just sign your name. Don't be too concerned about the conditions I promised just now, they're just small money. What you need to do now is to cultivate hard, don't think about anything else. If you can cultivate to the level of the God of War, it's the best reward for me." Yi Yun nodded lightly, took the contract and pen, without any intention of flipping through them, and directly signed his name under Zhuge Tao's instructions. The man behind Zhuge Tao put away the contract, and Zhuge Tao patted Yi Yun's shoulder. "Once again, I sincerely welcome you to join our extreme martial arts school. You're not 18 years old, it's really nostalgic. Yi Yun, work hard, we will see each other again. Remember, my name is Zhuge Tao." The contract has been confirmed, and Zhuge Tao has no intention of staying for a long time. In the respectful eyes of Bai Bojiangmian and others, he left the villa with someone. The second floor of the villa was empty, leaving only Yi Yun, Jiangnian and others. The four of them fell silent for a moment, and then Bo spoke, still with a hint of surprise on his face. I didn't expect the supervisor to be so optimistic about you. He even told you his name. Yi Yun, you have now entered the supervisor's sight. As the supervisor said, you must work harder in the future. If you can perform well in the future, the supervisor will definitely strive for a better cultivation environment for you. Yi Yun actually had a guess beforehand and was mentally prepared for the current situation, so he wasn't very excited. He responded to Bo's encouragement and listened to their introduction of Zhuge Tao's identity, strength, and status, nodding his head incessantly. After waiting for a few people to bid farewell to Bo and board the train back to Ian District in Yangzhou City, Jiang Nian finally asked, Yi Yun, according to regulations, you have signed a contract and officially become a warrior of our extreme martial arts school. So now you can move into our extreme martial arts school's martial arts community. Do you want to stay in the main city of Jiangnan Base City or return to Yangzhou City? Upon hearing these words, Yi Yun didn't think for a moment. He chuckled lightly and replied, of course he's back to Yangzhou City. That's where I grew up, and my friends and teachers are all there. I don't have any plans to go anywhere else for now. Jiang Nian nodded as expected and continued, good. We will choose a good building for you in Mingyue community. Your current strength, passing the martial arts practical assessment, is not a problem, but the rule is that the total contract amount of 350 million yuan can only be used next month. If you have any questions this month, feel free to ask me. Yi Yun naturally had no problems, so the next day he and Jiang Nian selected a villa in Mingyue community. The villa he chose was located relatively close to the inside, with few people living around, and the environment was also very quiet, which was very in line with Yi Yun's ideas. After moving, Yi Yun sat comfortably on the soft sofa, pondering his plans for improvement in the future. This time when I went to see Zhuge Tao, Yi Yun didn't just sign a contract. Zhuge Tao was a high-level warrior at the level of a general. Although he couldn't sit in this position without the support of the war god behind him, his own strength was definitely very strong. Yi Yun only slightly activated the replication pupil to scan and was pleasantly surprised. Requesting recommended tickets, end of this chapter. Chapter 10. Practical Assessment of Warriors. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Practical Assessment of Warriors. Before becoming the supervisor, Zhuge Tao was also a well-known martial artist in the extreme martial arts school. He may not be very skilled now, but what he practiced before will not be forgotten. Yi Yun discovered that Zhuge Tao, as one of the outstanding senior generals, had already reached the level of entering the micro-level in his body method, which means he could have extremely subtle control over his own strength and body, and make the most exquisite evasion with the minimum cost. This is something that many generals and warriors cannot cultivate for a lifetime. After scanning through Yi Yun's copy eye, Yi Yun did not directly reach the same level of body technique as Zhuge Tao, but gained Zhuge Tao's experience and insight from his immaturity and gradual cultivation to his current level of body technique. This experience and insight are extremely clear and comprehensive, and there are detailed ways to deal with difficulties and doubts in cultivation. During his own cultivation, Yi Yun was able to largely refer to Zhuge Tao's experience. Although he did not immediately master it, he could greatly shorten the time for Yi Yun to improve his own body techniques. Similarly, Zhuge Tao's own power level is not low, reaching a level of 3.6, which means he can unleash 3.6 times his own strength. For example, after unleashing a punch of 8,000 kilograms, he can reach a power of nearly 30,000 kilograms. This has already skyrocketed from a junior general to a strength comparable to a senior general. Yi Yun's mood is very good now. He has too few martial artists to interact with, and Zhuge Tao is already the most powerful one among them. Moreover, Zhuge Tao's own strength is also very good among senior generals. Therefore, for now, Zhuge Tao's experiences and insights are completely enough for Yi Yun to cultivate. In this month, I have been fully practicing my body techniques and exerting my strength. When it comes to the practical assessment of martial artists, I must once again surprise everyone in the cultivation room of the villa. Feeling the peaceful environment around him, Yi Yun calmed down and consciously felt the neural response tester model he had previously scanned and replicated in his mind. As soon as Yi Yun's consciousness touched the model, his right hand opened up in front of him, and invisible cosmic energy gathered. In no time, a precise neural response tester appeared in front of Yi Yun, with dozens of gun barrels in front of the instrument appearing very prominent. Following the example of the previous quasi-warrior assessment, Yi Yun calculated the distance and drew a circle with a diameter of 3.6 meters not far in front of the machine. He then adjusted it and started the machine. As the machine started, after the countdown set by Yi Yun ended, the dozens of barrels flickered with red light, and tiny red bullets were fired from these barrels. The speed and trajectory of these bullets were different, but one thing was the same: all of them would shoot towards the range of the circle. Yi Yun's neural response speed is currently very good. Previously, he was tested at a good level for intermediate generals. Therefore, when exercising himself, Yi Yun did not activate the testing mode of the neural response testing machine, but the endless mode of intermediate warrior strength. As long as the machine is not turned off, there will be a continuous stream of red bullets fired. Being within the range of a circle, Yi Yun's nerves remained tense as he watched the constantly shooting red bullets. He calculated the trajectory of bullets in different directions in his mind, like a nimble spirit cat, constantly avoiding bullets within the prescribed range. All that flashed through his mind was Zhuge Tao's own body technique experience and insights. About half an hour had passed, and Yi Yun took a step back, withdrew from the circle, took a slight breath, wiped away the sweat from his forehead, and turned off the instrument. Although Yi Yun only activated the intensity of intermediate generals, the continuous half-hour continuous attack still made his nerves a bit overwhelmed. After all, he had to constantly calculate the trajectory of the attack, which consumed a lot of energy. He was also hit many times by those red bullets on his body. Although they were all soft rubber heads, the pain was still not weak when he repeated them. Therefore, Yi Yun stopped this body cultivation. However, after turning off the instrument, Yi Yun did not stop to comprehend. He sat cross-legged on the ground, savoring his half-hour journey in constantly combining Zhuge Tao's body movements in his mind, slowly pondering his shortcomings and areas where he could do better. This realization lasted for another hour, and Yi Yun opened his eyes shining brightly, clearly reaping huge rewards. After this attempt at cultivation, Yi Yun also truly felt how powerful the experience and insights he had replicated were. In just one short night, Yi Yun felt like he was working hard to cultivate his body method for half a month, while saving time from taking detours. The speed of progress could really reach more than 10 times that of others. In this way, Yi Yun basically did not leave his villa for the next 20 days, completely immersed in the first long time of cultivation. During the day, he practiced body methods, exercised techniques to strengthen his body, and speculated on his body's strength. At night, he absorbed cosmic energy to strengthen his cellular genes. It can be said that during these 20 days, Yi Yun had a very fulfilling life. February 1, 2056. Yi Yun arrived early that day at the Extreme Martial Arts School in Mingyue Community, where he met with Bai Lin and Zhao Qing, who had passed the quasi-martial arts assessment together. Not long after, they boarded the first-class train under the leadership of Wu Tong. As the train began to travel, images began to appear on huge screens in each carriage. Yi Yun paid a little attention and knew that these were being promoted by the 4 major forces within the territory of China. He hoped that these quasi-warriors could join them after successfully becoming warriors. These 4 major forces are the Chinese military, the HR Alliance, the Extreme Martial Arts School, and the Thunderbolt Martial Arts School. In China, the military is undoubtedly the largest force, but joining them would impose significant restrictions on freedom. The HR Alliance, which is known as the world's largest platform for exchanging martial arts, is also a great choice. However, the ultimate martial arts schools and Thunderbolt martial arts schools are weaker, but joining them would give them a lot of freedom. How to make choices depends on the individual martial artists themselves. Yi Yun had already made a choice in his heart, and naturally there would be no more entanglement at this moment. He calmed down, closed his eyes slightly, adjusted his state, and waited for the train to arrive. After the introduction of the four forces, it was not long before Yi Yun heard the sound of the horn inside the carriage and knew that it had arrived at the station. The train then slowly slowed down and finally stopped. After getting off the train, with the flow of many warriors and under the leadership of some soldiers, they entered a large military camp. The military camp covers an extremely wide area, and various large thermal weapons are densely distributed on the outskirts of the camp. The thick muzzle is aimed at the outside of the camp, and rows of soldiers holding firearms are arranged, giving Yi Yun an extremely strict feeling. This is the northern military district of Huaxia Kingdom in Jiangnan City, which can be considered as the isolation zone between the base city and the wilderness. At this time, the surrounding areas of the military camp, outside the warning line, can clearly see the figures of some monsters. There are also flying monsters flying by from time to time in the sky, but these monsters dare not approach the position of the military camp at all. Although Yi Yun was mentally prepared and had made prior understanding, this was indeed his first time getting so close to a wilderness area. It was indeed different from the protected base city, full of primitive and wild atmosphere. And this is just an area close to the military camp, deep in the wilderness far away from human habitation. It is a paradise for monsters, and everywhere is dangerous. Only warriors can roam the wilderness, hunt monsters, and improve themselves. Ladies and gentlemen. A loud voice echoed into the ears of Yi Yun and others, "Welcome everyone to the North Military District of Jiangnan City. This time, your candidate 1575 is about to undergo a practical martial arts assessment in our North Military District. I hope most of you can pass smoothly, and I also hope that all of you can pass the assessment alive." After entering the military camp, all the quasi-warriors who participated in this practical assessment were properly arranged in batches and also provided with a sumptuous lunch, which was the last meal before the assessment. In the afternoon, 1575 quasi-warriors arrived at an open square, and at the front desk of the square stood some high-level officials from the North Military District of Jiangnan City, as well as high-level officials from the Thunderbolt Martial Arts Academy and Extreme Martial Arts Academy in Jiangnan Base City. At this moment, it is time to collect weapons. One by one, the quasi-warriors, according to their names, come forward to collect the weapons and equipment they have been informed in advance. When it was Yi Yun's turn, he also received a blood shadow war knife, weighing 98 kilograms. Yi Yun waved it slightly in his hand and felt that it was much lighter than the war knives used by his angels. However, this was already the heaviest war knife in the military camp, and Yi Yun took it with him. He also had a communication watch. After receiving it, Yi Yun returned to the team. In the more than 20 days before the actual combat assessment of martial artists, Yi Yun also practiced some knife techniques. However, Yi Yun knew that it was his first time touching a knife and he insisted on practicing some advanced knife techniques, which would definitely not have a very good effect. Therefore, during these 20 days, Yi Yun has been repeatedly practicing several basic movements, such as swing, chop, flirt, etc., all of which are the most basic. After such a short period of practice, Yi Yun's knife technique is naturally not very good, but he has already gained some experience in the basic three flavors of fast, accurate, and ruthless. I don't know why this time, but Zhuge Tao didn't appear in the senior management of the Extreme Martial Arts School. Yi Yun thought there must be something else, otherwise Zhuge Tao, as the supervisor of the Jiangnan district of the Extreme Martial Arts School, should not be absent from this grand event of actual combat assessment for quasi-warriors in the Jiangnan city area. Leaving aside these concerns, Yi Yun let go of his thoughts and, together with many students from the Extreme Martial Arts School, followed the crowd and walked for half an hour under the guidance of military district soldiers. Finally, he arrived at the outskirts of a small town. The outskirts of this small town are surrounded by thick barbed wire, and through the barbed wire, one can clearly see the scene inside the town. Among the dilapidated buildings, the figures of monsters occasionally flash by. These monsters all open their mouths and emit low growls, creating a tense atmosphere for many quasi-warriors outside the town. This small town is already in a wilderness area, and usually there are not so many monsters present. After all, it is close to the military camp in China, and low-level monsters will not come, while high-level ones will definitely be cleared. The thousands of monsters in this small town are all specially placed for the actual combat assessment of warriors this time. These monsters are all H-level, which is equivalent to the lowest level monsters of human junior warriors. Their strength is not strong, and a fully armed human junior warrior can definitely deal with them. The most important thing for the actual combat assessment of warriors is not their strength, but their courage to face monsters and their adaptation to bloody battles. Those who cannot achieve these 2 points cannot become qualified warriors and will only be eliminated. I have received the short message from the website. You can rest assured to collect and recommend it. Currently, there is 1 chapter per day, and after signing, there are 2 chapters per day. I hope you can all come and support me. Thank you very much. End of this chapter.